Hi everyone, welcome back to the 9 to 5 Novelist. I hope you're all having a good start to your week. If you've seen my last video, I was talking a little bit about my writing story, how I got to where I am, and the realities of writing an entire novel while you're working full time, which, a lot of writers are at the moment. So today, looking at something slightly different. So we're looking at idea viability. So how do you know that the idea that you have is a good idea for a novel? Can it carry an entire novel? There are ideas I've had in the past and that I still have, like they're still in the back of my mind, that I would love to write a novel about, but I'm not entirely sure that they can carry the novel. But they're still there, and I'm trying to figure out whether they lend themselves a bit better to something like a short story or I don't know, maybe a mixed media storytelling. I'm kind of drifting a little bit more towards that type of work because I think it's quite fascinating and fun. So, how do you know, right? How do you know that the idea is, I don't want to say good enough because I think all ideas are good. It's just, again, can they carry that long form? But how do you know if the idea that you have can carry that long form? So, there are three ways that you can, or three tools, if you will, that you can use to test the viability of your idea. Now, I'm 100% sure there are more than three ways, but I think they're easy to try out, easy to play around with, easy to vet against. Okay, so viability check one. This is more of an instinctive one, or it's less about, oh, okay, so viability check one. This is more about a gut check, right? It's more instinctive than of a check compared to others. So this is more of an instinctive check compared to others. It's the idea that keeps coming back, that doesn't quite leave your mind. It's always in the back, and every now and then you find out a little bit more about the idea, or a little bit more opens up in that world, right? And it just kind of keeps going that way, usually for months. But it's also the idea that is in your head before you go to sleep, the one that you've had a new development for that you think is quite cool, but it's okay. You're not going to write it down because you'll remember it in the morning. You won't. We all know that you won't. So type that on your phone, grab your notebook, jot it down. You will not remember it in the morning. If you do, great. 9 times out of 10, you won't. So, do that. It's the idea that when you're showering, it's in your head. It's interrupting your solo concert that you're having in there with the shampoo bottle. That idea. Or on your commute, on your way to work, on your walks. It's the one that's there, always just kind of fermenting. If you're having that, then you're actively already working on that idea. It means it's got legs, or at least it's got enough that keeps pulling you back in. You can't walk away from it. So if you can't walk away from it, you might as well work with it. So I think that's test number one. Test number two, I call it the what if test. Even though it's not always what if, but basically you have your idea. And what you're doing is, in whichever way works for you best, whether that's on your phone, whether that's, pen and paper, whether that's laptop, Scrivener, whatever tools that you use, you're just testing that idea out by asking small questions. So you've got your protagonist, for instance, for The Colors of Death, Isabel Reis, my main character, or Isabel Reis, if we're saying her name properly in the way that it's meant to be said. When I started that idea, it is not what The Colors of Death eventually became. So all I had was a body on the beach. I write crime, for those who don't know. I had a body on the beach, I had scorching heat, and I had a detective with splitting headaches. That's all I knew. That's the scene I had in my head. Don't ask me how that formed. I don't know. That is what I had. There was a body on the beach. I had a detective. She has really horrible headaches. Where do I go with this next? Because that does not sound like an idea that can carry a novel. But in fact, it carried 4 books. And how I started out with that was just asking, okay, is there anything special about these headaches? Oh, but what if the headaches were linked to something else? What if she's taking something for the headaches? What if she's taking something she's not supposed to take for the headaches? Again, where do your headaches originate from? What if she has powers? What if she's having to suppress the powers? What if she's suppressing them with the pills and the pills lead to headaches? So you can see it started to generate answers that I could ask more questions to. So if you are able to answer these questions and those answers allow you to ask more questions and get more answers, then you're doing pretty well. To demonstrate, this is one of the stories that I'm currently working on. This is entirely what if scenarios because I'm trying to break down. I've actually planned the first part of this story. I've completely plotted out the entire first part of this story. This is a little bit different because this is even longer than a novel. This is a serialized story that I'm working on. You can see my little. I love Stitch. So I've plotted it up all the way until part 1. But now that I'm approaching the end of part 1, I need to continue to figure out the rest, which I know, but vaguely. And so I'm doing a lot of what if questions. And as you can see, like I've gotten 2 pages, if not more, I think it goes on, of notes out of that. So it's giving me material. It's giving material that I can work with, that I can continue to expand on, that I can fix. So the what if test is not only really good for you to test your idea and figure out what else is in there. It's also just as great to continue to grow that idea. So I really like the what if tool. And you'll probably see it in a lot of writing books and maybe referred to as a what if tool or maybe referred to as something different, but you'll definitely see it in a lot of writing advice. And the third way that you can check is by doing a story foundation check. Essentially, can you answer 3 questions about this idea that you have? Number 1 is, who is it about, right? Your protagonist. Who is your protagonist? Second question is, what do they want and what stands in their way? Conflict. Third, where is it going? So what is going to be the resolution for this? Now, this is just a check. So you don't have to have the full answers for all of these questions. You just have to have enough to start. If you can answer the 3 questions and you've got a little bit for each one, then you have got a good starting foundation for the novel that you're going to go on to develop. Okay, to recap. If you have an idea and you're not sure if it can carry a novel, you can use those 3 tests to see whether you have enough to get started, right? And, if you're not checking all of those 3 boxes, it doesn't mean that your idea is not worthy of a novel. It just means you don't necessarily have all the information yet, and you could let it ferment a little bit longer. So it doesn't mean don't write it. It doesn't mean throw it away. It just means you need a little bit more time with them. Or you can start anyway and test them out. You could always use a skeleton draft for that. I hope you found this useful. If you use any particular ways to test out your ideas, don't be shy. Share them below in the comments. Always love to learn new ways to do things or to test things. If you haven't done so already, I'm currently offering a free guide just talking about 5 reasons why you haven't finished your novel. And it also gives you some self-auditing exercises so that you can figure those out and maybe get you on the road to finishing your novel. That's all for me today, and I'll see you soon with more tips about writing. Bye.